And welcome to what absolutely positively promises to be a fantastic episode of Dogma Debate, because I have none other than former Tea Party Congressman turned never Trumper, Joe Walsh, with me. Joe, thanks so much for joining.
Hey, Michael, it's great to be with you. I mean it. Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. You and I had a great conversation here in LA. I guess that was like just over a week ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's amazing. We are so separated where you are still a Republican. I'm a Bernie Sanders-esque Democrat. And yet I felt almost nothing but agreement with you throughout the entire conversation. Trump has just pushed us to a place where the important issues are so salient and the ones that we need to talk about immediately, just all agreement. And we can only hope that someday we'll get into the nitty gritty about everything else. Like, do you believe we're here to save the republic? Is that where we're at as Americans?
And let me just make one correction, Michael.
Okay.
Still a Tea Party conservative.
Right.
I formally left the Republican Party when I ended my primary challenge to Trump in February, March of 20. So almost 5 years ago, I left the Republican Party, have been an independent ever since. I think we've lost our republic, and now it's just a question of if we can get it back.
I think I would agree with that. And every day it seems like we're getting closer and closer to just. Here's something that kind of blew me away the other night. I didn't hear a lot of other people talking about it. Maybe you saw this, but Steve Bannon was on Bill Maher. Did you happen to catch that?
I did.
And Bill Maher read him the 22nd Amendment. The language could not be more clear. Somebody cannot be elected president more than twice, period. And Steve Bannon said, that's open to interpretation. To which I was like, if that is open to interpretation, the whole thing's open to interpretation. That means they are not going to abide by the U.S. Constitution anymore. The whole thing can be interpreted however they want to interpret it. And that was the sign to me that, like, the Constitution was never the scaffolding around which they were going to build their movement. It was the impediment to their movement.
Which, Michael, is so ironic. Like, you and I probably disagree on most things politically, but I always considered myself Tea Party because I revered the Constitution and I feared tyranny.
Right.
And all of my former Tea Party colleagues in Congress sold out, and now they embrace a tyrant. But so many of my former supporters and voters who back in the day considered themselves proudly Tea Party, here they are in 2025 embracing the king.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing saddens me more than this.
Yeah, there's almost a poetry that America started as a rebellion to a mad king, and we're going to end by running back into the arms of a mad king. But when you talk about your Tea Party former, constituents and both those and your coworkers in Congress, it seems to me when I heard them talk, it seems like the scenarios that we've seen play out recently are the exact ones they were freaking out about. Plainclothed, masked men disappearing legal residents off the streets of America with no due process into gulags in other countries. Seems to be exactly what they were talking about with, like, Obama, like, where they were afraid of jackbooted thugs, so to speak. And now we're here and they're cheering for them. They're on the side of the jackbooted thugs, of the plainclothed masked men showing no credentials, just disappearing people off the streets of America.
Completely agree with all of that, Michael. And then I'll take you in another direction. So I'm in Congress, and don't get mad at me. Jim Jordan, Ohio rep, used to be one of my good friends. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, Michael, every time Barack Obama, you remember these days, grabbed his pen or his phone and even thought about writing out signing an executive order, we would go ballistic. And Jim Jordan and Joe Walsh and all of us Tea Party guys in Congress would hold a press conference and scream about Obama and executive overreach. We've never seen anything like these first almost 100 days with Trump. every day he signs about 10 of them. But again, Jim Jordan, all the Tea Party folk are utterly silent. But your example hits home even more. I've always considered myself a small government guy. Government is important and it's necessary. But man, I fear, like our founders did, big abusive government. And it just pains you and I that we now have one political party, my former party, and we don't say this enough, that has become authoritarian. It's not conservative, doesn't believe in free markets, doesn't believe in free trades. It is authoritarian. And that's finally come to America.
Right. And I will say, though, that I don't believe it is your former party. It's your former party died and some avatar is in its place. And I'm reminded of Mitt Romney, who said something along the lines of, I'm a wealthy man. I can afford security to protect myself and my family. Not all of my coworkers, not all my fellow Republicans are. And they actually fear speaking out against Trump. That the threat of violence is kind of already there, where people, it's not just that if you don't fall in line, you get, kicked out of the party, but that you're fearful for his most ardent followers. Would you say that that's accurate?
Oh, God, Michael, spot on. Look, Adam Kinzinger and I got elected in the same class. We both hail from Illinois. He and I compare notes constantly. I came out against Trump almost 8 years ago now. He came out after January 6th. But the moment you publicly come out against Trump as a Republican, everything bad happens and your career is over and your future as a Republican is over. But you immediately put up with hate like I've never seen on a regular basis. And you immediately put up with threats to your life. And so, like, I've had to live with these for the last 7 to 8 years. It's part of why Republicans don't stand up against him, because you do have to live with this. It gets old, it gets scary, it gets really tiring, and it sucks because you are often under real threat.
That is just crazy. And I saw one of your videos, and let's give your YouTube channel a quick plug for all the listeners right now. Would you mind dropping that name?
Social Contract with Joe Walsh.
That's right. Social Contract with Joe Walsh. And you were talking about Pam Bondi and you said something very interesting. That you called her Trump's lawyer, which it really feels like she is, which is what he always wanted from his AGs previously, and was so angry at them that they didn't provide that role to him. But now the AG who traditionally had almost nothing to do with the executive branch. I often am reminded that Comey refused to even play pickup basketball with Barack Obama because he didn't want any association. He didn't want it to seem like the Justice Department was in any way being influenced by the executive branch. Now it seems like Trump is signing executive orders directing Pam Bondi to investigate people, and she's doing it, including former staffers of his, which he just did last week.
So, Michael, it's kind of weird. I'd be curious about your take on this. In many ways, Trump is the worst iteration of everything that's broken in our politics. Everything. And this is one example. So over the years, attorneys general have become more political. A president can appoint the attorney general, but the attorney general works for the country, top law enforcement officer in the country. But look, we've always had political attorney generals. JFK hired his brother.
Yep.
I can remember in Congress, Obama's first attorney general, Eric Holder. Man, I'd go after Holder with a lot when I even thought he was getting political. That just pales in comparison to what this is. So along comes Trump, and it's just out in the open. I mean, Trump basically says Pam Bondi works for me. There's a lot of corruption among politicians. What does Trump do? He just throws his corruption out in the open. Bitcoin and my properties, I'm going to use my office to make money. Most politicians lie, and they try to keep their lies quiet. Trump lies out in the open every time he breathes. In many ways, Michael, he's like, this has been a slow build. And then finally, we elected somebody who's the worst iteration of everything that's wrong with our politics. It's weird.
Right. It is weird. And I always wonder to myself, though, is this in any way based on Donald Trump's vision, or is Donald Trump just the conduit through which darker forces are pushing their vision on America? And he's just a guy that likes power. And he's like, what do you want me to say? Deport American citizens into third world gulags? You got it. Whatever it is. I mean, do you think that Donald Trump is himself this visionary, this fascist visionary, or is he just a guy who likes power and has been utilized by these forces?
I think he's a fascist. I
Yeah,
think if he could be a tyrant and a dictator and not have a constitution or laws tie him down, he'd do that. Because I agree with you. He's all about power. He's all about Trump. Trump has no philosophy. He
right.
has no core philosophy. There's no policy bone in him. He could be a Democrat. He could be a Republican. He can be Hillary Clinton's best friend. Then he wants to lock her up. So there's no philosophical core to Trump, but the acquisition of power. And he does, though he does want to be an authoritarian.
Absolutely.
Republicans fear him, but people around him, especially this term, they know they've wised up this time. They know he doesn't have a core, so they let him just spew off about really two topics that he likes to talk about: tariffs and Putin,
Yeah.
and all this other stuff, DEI, the transgender stuff, all the Project 2025 stuff. This is all being driven by people around him. And as you rightly said, they have their agenda. They envision a real activist, nationalist, authoritarian government.
Absolutely. And I think they've wanted it for a long time. But now we're entering like the absolute, I mean, and we're not even at 100 days into this man's term, but we're entering this incredibly dark time where now we've gone from these were legal residents in the United States that they were disappearing off the streets of America. He is now openly talking about American citizens. As he called them, homegrown to Bukele yesterday, and then Pam Bondi's been asked about it, and Caroline Levitt's been asked about it, and they're doubling down. We are looking into the legality of taking and it's so mind-blowing that they use this word, deporting American citizens. Well,
Dark.
they're in it. America's their home. You can't deport someone to another. That's not deporting, is it? I guess. I mean,
No, Michael, this is such dark fucking stuff. Yesterday, I had a bad time yesterday because if you're an American and you listen to what he said in the White House yesterday, first off, he could give a damn about due process for anybody. But
right.
then to your point, I want to send American citizens to foreign jails. Man, that's just chilling. It's against the law. It's unconstitutional. But he said he wants to do it. It's not the first time he said he wants to do it. So like I travel the country every week and I hold conversations, and it was great to be out in LA with you last week. I had a conversation yesterday with a really hardcore Trump supporter who used to be a big supporter of mine, a good friend. We're no longer friends, but we had a respectful conversation. But Michael, he's just enamored with this idea of sending American citizens down to El Salvador. And I said, but the law, but the Constitution. I tried to walk him through all of this, wanted nothing to do with it. Made me so sad that, again, I think you mentioned this a few minutes ago, the right, the Tea Party, these folks who claimed allegiance to a constitution, and now so easily they'd abandon it because he's their guy, he's their king. This is really, really scary, and it's going to get worse.
Absolutely. And it does raise a question since we have jails in America. What is the advantage? And the only thing I can think of is it's the skipping the due process part. Why else would I mean, we have jails. We do jail Americans in America. What is it that he sees? What advantage does he see in deporting them to El Salvador? Other
Um,
than
yeah, Michael, it's the cruelty. Let's remember a big part of what Trump does is advance cruelty, um, and scare people. You know my history, my friend, right? When I was in right-wing media, I engaged in this more than I'm proud of. Cruelty sells on the right. It's why he spent the campaign lying about immigrants' crime rates, why he lied about migrants eating cats and dogs. He uses this issue to scare the fuck out of people. Donald Trump in one phone call could get that Maryland guy back up in America. He won't do it because he wants to scare.
Mm, I'm afraid it has broken up. Oh, I lost you for a second, Joe, but
I'm back.
you're back. Um, yeah, it's also mind-blowing. So I did want to touch on another thing I've heard you talk about, which is Elon Musk. And what role do you think he is playing in the Trump administration? Because some point to, do you know Curtis Yarvin?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is sort of the Yarvinish vision of America, which is that democracy doesn't work and we need something of a CEO, somebody who is not encumbered by uh, laws and somebody that can be, reined in by the Senate and the House or even the judiciary. Do you see that as his role? Because I'm beginning to, in addition to the fact that he bankrolled Trump's election and every election for Republicans.
Yeah, I think he's probably the leading figure in that Yarvin model. I can tell you, Michael, that Republicans privately despise Elon Musk. I can tell you that, and I still engage with my former Republican colleagues in the House. They can't stand him. They know he's hurting the Republican brand. The people who work for Trump, the people in and around the White House, just want Elon gone. They need his money, and they want his money for the midterms. So they're going to try to. I mean, if you think about it, Michael, he's been the last few weeks, ever since that loss in Wisconsin a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Elon's been relatively quiet. There's a date coming up in mid-May where he either has to shit or get off the pot. And if he stays on beyond that, I think it's 120 days, it's mid-May something, then he has to undergo Senate hearings and undergo a full background check. He doesn't want to do that. They don't want him to do that. So I think they'll find a quiet way to transition him before that mid-May date.
Well, it seems like it's too late at this point anyway, even if you could rein him in, because he's fired all the inspector generals that look after all the agents or all the agencies that would govern him and have open investigations, not only into him, but into his cronies. And this whole thing with the meme coin and the Bitcoin that you discussed earlier, this seems like the most corrupt aspect of what they're all doing. And Trump, who once called Bitcoin a scam, then ran as I want to be the crypto capital of the world, and now has basically dropped all regulations against cryptocurrency as he himself has launched World Liberty Financial, USD1, and his meme coin. He has made it so that anybody anywhere untraceable can put money into his coffers.
Somebody very close to him, Michael, has told me, and again, I think Trump's an idiot. I think he's an utterly ignorant human being, but I do think he's got some marketing abilities, and there are
I lost you again, Joe. We'll give it a second. If you can hear me, Joe, I've lost you on my end.
Some strategic strands. You back?
I'm back. Yeah.
That was
I don't know
weird.
what's going on. Not the best connection, apparently, but yeah.
Let me continue. This guy close to Trump, like, truly believes that Trump believes if he's corrupt out in the open, not behind closed doors, the American people won't think it's corruption. And so part of his strategy, Trump's, is fuck it. Yeah. Here's Bitcoin. Here's my this. Here's my that. I'm going to build build another property in Saudi Arabia and that'll help our Middle East policy. He believes that, and this is part of why he lies so much. He believes if he just bombards people with lies, a 1,000 a day, people will just then accept what he's saying. And
Yeah.
I got to admit, Michael, it's a lot of his strategy has been working because we should be outraged at who he is and what he does, and we're not.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's the flooding the zone. It's the Steve Bannon technique, which has proven to be absolutely effective. And I can't believe how far we've fallen in such a short amount of time.
We knowingly elected a really horrible human being. And I'm always blown away by that, Michael, because Tea Party guy, I was out campaigning for Kamala Harris in every battleground state last year.
I saw you.
And so many people would tell me who voted for him, hey, Joe, I know he's a bad guy. I get it. I would never do business with him. I get it. But I don't care, Joe, because there was always a reason. Like, the Democrats suck. The border's open. Eggs are too expensive. Whatever. The Democrats are wussies. Whatever it was. They knowingly voted for a bad man. We really did do that.
Yeah, because we wanted to go back to the high stock market and the low prices of his first term, or at least the first part of his first term. And it was a devil's bargain, and we lost big time. And you were out there campaigning for Kamala Harris, which brings me to my question about the Democrats. You endorse the candidates, but I am assuming you do not endorse the platform altogether.
Well, I gotta be honest. So, like, I should write the book From the Tea Party to the Democratic Party in 10 years. I mean, Michael, there's a part of me that's thought about becoming a Democrat. I don't know what their platform is. The Democrats are trying to figure themselves out. Look, I am voting for Democrats, and I'm helping Democrats win probably for the rest of my life, because I don't see my former party ever coming back. I'll never be a Republican again. So whether I'm in the party or out of the party, it's the only other. They are the opposition party. I'd love a third party. I'd love a fourth party. I've been talking about that for a long, long time. That ain't happening right now.
No.
I don't think the Democrats know who they are, Michael. Like, we're living, and you may not like this, but we're living in a populist moment. I'm a populist, so I don't mind populism. There's good and bad. Donald Trump is a bad populist, an evil populist. But man, Michael, the Democrats have been asleep during this populist moment. They've been in their ivory towers. They haven't understood the anger that regular Americans feel. So Democrats need to be fighters, and then they need to figure out where they stand on regular issues.
Yeah, I would agree. And it gets into a little bit of the conversation I had with you last week here in LA, which is, the fire, there is energy right now, and it is definitely with Bernie Sanders and AOC and their current tour that they're doing, the End Oligarchy tour. But obviously Bernie's not running again. And you asked me if I thought AOC could get elected.
Yeah. What'd you say? Remind me.
I said I didn't. I didn't know. I don't think
Yeah.
so. I don't know. It seems to me, and not because I don't support her and everything she stands for, and the very tour that they're going on, I think is wonderful. But I want to win because I feel like we have lost the republic. Getting back to what we opened the conversation with, I think the republic is gone, and now it's a question of can we get it back? Can we rebuild it? And uh, therefore we have to win not just the midterms but the presidential election in 4 years. So that's all I'm focused on is winning. And
Yeah.
you know, but my pet projects aside, I'm talking to somebody who's probably put a number of pet projects aside in the
Yeah.
name of just fighting to save America. So I'm not sure. What conclusion? Because you were doing a lot of asking of questions in the discussion we had, which was great because you're trying to get information, but I didn't get a whole lot of your opinion on that particular matter. How do you think the Democrats win in 4 years?
So I'm somewhat agnostic on, oh, they need to move to the middle or they need to be hardcore progressive. They, they need to have a fighter. I mean, a fucking balls to the wall fighter. I don't care where that fighter comes from, the left or the center left moderate wing of the party. I think it might be better to have a moderate populist Democratic fighter. But if it was AOC or Bernie 20 years ago, doesn't matter to me. I'd be all in with the fighter. Um, I don't think AOC is ready for something like that. I don't think she's got the gravitas. But Michael, if you put a gun to my head, who do I think among the Democrats do? I want somebody who's a fighter, and I want somebody authentic. If the Democrats put up somebody who sounds like a fucking politician, they're going to lose again.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know who that voice is. Have you found it?
I don't know that I've found it, to be honest with you, but I do know that that there's the Republicans play so dirty that with Hillary Clinton in 2016, I was against her running for one reason and only one reason, because there was no undecided voters. Fox News had a 10-year head start, making sure everybody thought she was the devil. That there were people that couldn't conceivably vote for Hillary Clinton against anybody, even including the actual devil like Donald Trump, because they had spent 10 years poisoning that well. And I feel like they've done that with AOC as well, where she's so divisive. There are people on the right who don't understand her or her politics. They understand that this caricature that the right has created of her, of this dumb communist, that's just going to destroy America.
Well,
And
fuck them.
so,
Then you got to fight back, Michael. Then
yeah.
you got to fight back. If I agree with you, that's what the right does. I was of the right. That's what I would do. But then you got to fight back. And Hillary, yeah, she's been, the mortal enemy of the right forever. But Hillary was also the poster child for kind of the tone deaf establishment politician. I think you and I talked about it in LA. I think if Bernie were the nominee in 16, he wins. He beats
Oh yeah,
Trump.
I agree. And the
I
numbers
believe
show
that
that too.
because, again, we were in a populist moment. And along comes Hillary, who's misestablishment, and she felt like she was too good to campaign in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan with
Yeah.
regular people. So she really messed up a lot too. You can't have that kind of candidate again. You need a brawler.
Yeah. But I don't want the country to remain divided, but maybe that is just a wish that I will never see realized, because no matter who it is, I think half the country is going to think America's dead. And if we don't have a shared investment in how this country, turns out in the end, I think we're screwed. And enough
So that,
Americans.
yeah,
Go ahead.
Michael. So that's why I made up my mind a few months ago after the campaign. I don't want to sit in a TV studio in New York City or DC for the next 4 years commenting on Trump. Shoot me if that's what I have to do. I want to
Yeah.
get out there. And so I'm having conversations around the country because I agree with what you just said. If the American people continue to absolutely hate the people they disagree with, we're done, no matter who the president is. And so I want to talk to the American people and listen to them. And hey, you want to stay together? Should we just say the hell with it and get a divorce and break up? And if we stay together, what does America look like? What does that America look like? You all out in LA, you had some really fascinating answers. I'm going everywhere. But I agree with your thesis, Michael. I think I said this in the second town hall back in 2011 after I got elected. My second town hall as a member of Congress. Back then I felt, I don't know if America can stay together. And I still believe that. I still worry. That drives me. And I think it's going to be up to the people to decide if we want to stay together.
Yeah, and I will just say that in closing, I got a lot of Trump supporters in my life, a lot of Trump supporters in my family, and shocker, when we get together, we get along great. It doesn't
That's
have to
cool.
be like this. We're angry at this online version of the other side that we think exists. We are all, the drivers on the freeway who feel the safety of being in our car, and you can give the finger to the guy that, cut you off and scream at him. But if you were walking down the sidewalk, you would never, you would engage them in a civil way. Well, it's
Hey,
the same
Michael,
thing.
that's such a good fucking point. It's again why I'm doing what I'm doing, because when I was campaigning for Harris, outside of the political stuff, people would tell me over and over and over, they're dying to have face-to-face conversations with people, to get
Yeah.
away from their phones, away from the internet. I think you're right.
Yeah, and so more of that, and you're doing great work, and that's why I went and met you last week in LA, and why I wanted to have you on, because it's this is the exact right approach. We should be talking, and if more less, I asked you about that Jubilee thing that I saw online, and asked you if you were interested, and which is where they take one person of one point of view and they surround them by about 20 other people, and they all come up and debate. And you said no, that you're interested in bringing two people together and having good conversations, and you're tired of all the debating and yelling. And I don't know
Well,
how we do it, but
well,
you're starting to do it, and I say more of it.
Michael, but tell me if you disagree with me. The old Joe Walsh, that's all I did was fight and debate and debate and debate.
Yeah.
I don't know that moves the ball anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. I want to engage people just in conversation. Okay, there's not going to be a winner and a loser. Let's just have a conversation. But I don't know. I'm always tempted to do a debate again every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do them, and I do them all the time, but it is, a psychologist will tell you that, when you challenge somebody's position, even with evidence, even if you undeniable evidence, the first thing they do is double down on the position. It's just a
Bingo.
psychological reality about being a human being, that it's easier to sucker a man than it is to convince a man he's been suckered.
And again, I'll just say for everybody listening to you and I right now, you and I dabbled a little bit of this in LA, but if you and I sat down, if we took the top 20 public policy issues in this country right now, you and I would disagree on the vast majority of them, solutions to them.
Yep.
But we've become friends, and we're kind of locked together here to help defeat what this threat is. But you and I could have a respectful conversation about immigration, tax policy, healthcare policy, you name it.
Yep, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, more of that. Joe Walsh, you're doing good work, and I appreciate you, man, and I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks so much.
Michael, thank you, my friend.